Hello, everyone, and welcome to your Daily Detroit, sharing what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan with a very special Thursday, August 29th edition of the podcast. I am Jer Stays, and to my right is none other than Devon O'Reilly here on a Thursday because I'm taking a day off tomorrow.
Here on a Thursday, taking a day off tomorrow. A lot of people do these days. I feel like Thursday is the new Friday, so we'll just treat it like a Friday show.
Well, that's exactly my thought. And, had the power out, had the dog surgery. She's recovering well, but I need a little bit of time to catch up with some stuff. So I'm like, you know what? The Friday heading into the holiday weekend, if I'm going to take a mulligan, I feel like that's when to do it.
Sure. Give yourself a nice 4-day weekend. I think a lot of people are. So we'll subscribe to that and we'll just make it a 4-day weekend, right?
Right. And we will be back, of course, on Tuesday. But before we get into anything, to your right, I'm going to describe it for our audio listeners. There is a piece of cloth with a giant green O'Reilly on it. What have you brought? Show and tell today.
Well, so we've talked about this. For anyone who's seen the studio setup, either on video, in person, in pictures, you have a lot of trinkets. We might call them tchotchkes in the Midwest. You have all different types of stuff adorning your shelves here. And we've talked about bringing some personal pieces of flair, haven't we? So I've been delinquent on this, and I haven't brought in some flair for you. So I did finally bring in some personal flair for you. I have for you a Wherefore Mayor O'Reilly apron and a Mayor O'Reilly button for coat.
Put that in front of the microphone there so you can see it if you're on YouTube.
Hold that up if you're watching. If not,
Nice.
check it out. So this is from, I believe, the 2013 mayoral campaign of John B. O'Reilly.
And John B. O'Reilly is?
My father.
Okay.
And so I wanted to bring this in, and we have a little piece of personal flair. I've got so much random campaign stuff, so I thought this would be appropriate for displaying, although I have all sorts of things from coins to cups to jackets to all sorts of crazy stuff. This is what you do when you have multiple political campaigns going on throughout your life.
Now, both of us have some politicians and other people in our family.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite piece of campaign merch that you ever saw?
Ooh, I think it's pretty tough, but I will say, I'll say this because I wear it all the time. Well, all the time. I wear it every St. Patrick's Day as tradition. I have basically a nice satin button-up jacket with the big 70s collar from the 1977 campaign of my grandfather, John B. O'Reilly Sr., and it's got some really cool detailing, and somehow it is preserved for going on 50 years. But we found it years ago. I keep it in the back of my closet, and I only break it out either on campaign day or on St. Patrick's Day because it's got a bunch of shamrocks on it and it says O'Reilly on it.
Now, are there any Johns in your family of this generation?
There are not.
Really? They broke the streak. I'm stunned.
Can you go backwards and do? I think the Fords did this. What would happen if it skips a generation? Can you be a John B. O'Reilly III, or is it too late?
I assume you could be because you can name. Listen,
What are the rules on that?
Well, I feel like people can name themselves whatever they'd like to name them.
I suppose they can.
Right? So you could just declare it. You could decide that you're Devon O'Reilly IV.
Yeah, that would be a little weird, but I could do it, I suppose.
You could,
There's
right? You have the right to do it, and I would honor your choices.
Well, we'll see if a John B. O'Reilly III pops up somewhere down the lineage.
Are you pumped for football starting this weekend?
I am, yes. I think we've got a lot of sports listeners. I know our listening audience is very diverse, but I know we've got U of M fans, and I know we've got Michigan State fans. They're both kicking off their season along with most of college football this weekend. Michigan State plays on Friday night at 7 o'clock, and Michigan plays on Saturday night at 7 o'clock. So it'll be night games for both of us, both of our big teams. Pretty exciting. That means fall's in the air, right? You and I have been bantering about when is fall actually starting. Summer feels like it's still in the throes. It's still warm as hell, so
yeah.
It still feels like summer. But when you've got football on a Saturday, you definitely start to feel fall in the air, despite the temperature.
We're going to have a question from a listener about warmer temperatures later in the show. So where have you been?
I stopped somewhere. I think we'll see how many people have actually been there because it's been mentioned on the show, I believe, when it opened. La Ventana, the cafe on Gratiot, just outside of Eastern Market. Sometimes people call that Eastern Market still. Would you say that's,
To me, it's still Eastern Market. I'll take it as Eastern Market, like the greater Eastern Market area.
Greater Eastern Market.
Because you can still walk to it from those places, even though it feels right now a little disconnected. I feel like in the future, whatever, kind of Eastern Market to Lafayette Park-ish area.
Okay, yeah. So this would be on Gratiot right there, next to where Collect used to be. Bunny was there. Antietam, one of my favorite restaurants, was over there. So it's really cool area, easy to park. We talk about what do we like about this areas right on Gratiot there in the morning. Nobody was out there parked on Gratiot, so very, very easy to park there, and really cool vibes in the cafe. It's newer, so it's going for like that like minimalist hipster coffee shop vibe. It's nailing it. And I'm pretty simple when it comes to coffee, so I just got whatever they have in the drip coffee form that was delicious. But a lot of people like sitting there working. It was a nice quiet environment. They have bar space. They have like little tables you can work at. So it was really cool. Nice quiet vibe. I would highly recommend people, if you're doing a little like work from somewhere else, take a meeting over there, meet someone for coffee, that type of situation. Highly, highly recommend. So check it out. It's not immediately visible. Like, you'd have to know that you're going there because there's not a big neon sign. But if you follow my directions, you'll find it.
I've been there once before. I remember it being very angular.
It is, yeah, very, very good call. It is very angular, but not obtrusively angular. You're not. I didn't bump up against any angles or find myself in a crevasse.
It's not an obtuse angle.
No. No. So you'll be fine. But if you're an architecture buff, you might notice that. Now, how about you, Jer?
Well, I went somewhere you can't go.
I don't like to hear that.
Well, I mean, you will be able to go there in time.
Okay.
I got a peek and walkthrough of the Marrow space in Eastern Market that's coming together.
I didn't even realize they were going into Eastern Market.
Yeah. So 2 stories, 2 bars, and a restaurant and a meat processing facility.
I'm very interested. One of the things, I'm so lazy, whatever you want to call me. I'm such a West Sider at heart. I love Marrow, but it's like it's too far east sometimes for me to go there for like our date nights or like my nights out. So I don't make it to Marrow as much as I'd like to because it's just a little too far on the east side. But if there's one in Eastern Market, I'm all ears.
Well, and I think they're really making a big bet because this is a huge space. So I will post the pictures on dailydetroit.com. And if you're a subscriber to our email newsletter, which we're doing more with, you're going to get these pictures delivered straight to your inbox. But man, like crazy in there. So they're getting all the studs in. They framed out different areas where you walk in, you can see where the lobby is going to be. They're putting in a new elevator. This space had various tenants for a while, but the upstairs had been vacant for years.
Okay.
So they merged what were basically, it was one building, but there was like a wall between them. So they've merged the 2 spaces together on both the first floor and the second floor. This is right next to Detroit City Distillery, right by where like the freeway pops up to Gratiot.
Yeah. Okay.
It's got a big black and white mural on the side of it right now. So to like orient you where you are.
That's helpful.
Yeah. And it's on that street that is always closed off for market Saturdays.
Gotcha.
Okay. So you walk in, there's going to be a bar on your left. You go in there, there's also going to be like, you're going to be able to see through, and they're actually going to be doing like a retail operation. So there's going to be Marrow, the restaurant, and then Marrow Provisions.
Makes sense.
Right? And because there's big ambitions with Marrow. So there's the restaurant, and then as we interviewed them on the show, they're also getting into the sustainable meat business.
I've been to multiple kind of markets, including Westbourne near my house, and I've seen Marrow sausage and other products from Marrow. So they've definitely started branching out. I've seen the Eatory market has Marrow stuff. So you're absolutely right. I think they're definitely going big on the Marrow Provision side, and it seemed to be successful so far.
For sure. And this is going to be their own production facility.
Awesome.
Right there in Eastern Market.
So you can see the sausage made.
The actual cliche, if you would like to, the cliche come to life. Then you can go upstairs and it'll be a full restaurant. 2nd level, kind of Chicago style. They put new windows in, so it was all blocked off before. I was there the day that the windows like finally started opening up. Oh my. Some of the best views of downtown Detroit, of seeing the Rensen and seeing
because
the Hudson's
that's a good angle, right?
Yeah. There's so much stuff that you can see up there, and you're going to have different dining spaces, so they'll be able to keep the restaurant open while handling different kinds of parties. So there's going to be some separation there where it can be all restaurant space, or there'll be some spaces set aside. Let's say you're doing a wedding, or let's say you're doing a rehearsal dinner, or let's say you're doing a meeting for your fancy vice president, such a fancy company. You can do all of those things, and to see what they're going to do and bring that that quality that they have at their West Village Indian Village space into this and be able to like scale up this production is so exciting to me as somebody who is passionate about like development. And I'm also glad to see that they tell me that they are not just going to be a Saturday place. They're going to be open throughout the week, and they really want to engender more people coming down for happy hour, for dinner, for all these things on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, whatever, to really get that street life market going, because I love Eastern Market. But one thing that I do feel like it comes up short compared to other markets where I've traveled, it's not 7 days. It is 7 days a week, but it's not.
It isn't. Right. There's activity. There's activity.
It's not like
24/7. But
there's activity all the time, but it's not like a North Market in Columbus, or you go to Philadelphia where you can just go there on any day.
Yeah.
And get all this stuff, and there's street activity and vendors and all that. They really want to turn that up. And then they're also going to be investing in a patio outside and putting in trees and all this other stuff. It's just been it was a stunning tour. And as I said, we'll put the pictures up on dailydetroit.com and on our newsletter. You're going to want to check this out.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. I wonder, given that they are, as you mentioned, next to Detroit City Distillery, seems like some really cool collabs that could happen going forward. I'm sure they're already in the works. So I'll be looking forward to that. Maybe some Marrow sausage-infused bourbon or something like that. I don't know. That might be a little wild. But
should we throw the Daily Detroit Sausage Party?
I don't think you want that.
I also went another place.
You're doubling up on me? All right.
Doubling up. I'm not going to save this.
Okay, let's go.
3rd Street Bar. I made it. It's back.
What?
Yes.
I mean, I vaguely heard it was back. Jer, you must have, I don't want to, be too.
Are you going to judge me right now?
I mean, you must have brought the median age up several years there. I mean, it was a college bar. 3rd Street was like the quintessential college bar.
And they still have the hook game, the ring hook game.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they're definitely holding on to their roots. But I went to a civic leader happy hour put together by friend of the show, Jeanette Pierce, talking to a lot of people who are interested in doing things. And because of this, the median age of the bar on this night went up. In fact, I was in the middle of the zone. I talked to people in their 50s.
At 3rd Street. Wow.
Yes.
That's pretty incredible.
Yes.
That you would think their kids would be going there. Maybe they are.
There were some in the distance. There were some, but they weren't really interested. They were far more interested, as I was in my 20s, in each other.
Did the inside look like it used to, or have they done a lot with it?
It is exactly the same.
Okay, good.
That's the inside fantastic. Is almost exactly
perfectly
the same.
Fine.
The patio outside is expanded, which I think is great.
That's great. Yeah.
And a lot more seating areas. I took some pictures as well, which eventually in one of the editions I'm going to post to show people, because I'm learning people actually really like when I do pictures of these things. I'm kind of stunned. I always thought it would be video, but people like it when we do like the big carousel galleries. They do like 3 times better than our videos. Anyway, great spot. Simple service. I know that there's going to be some pop-ups and things happening.
Yeah, they always had like a pop-up food concept.
I think Street Beat's going to be popped up there for
Street
deli.
Beat was really great. My favorite was Dangerously Delicious Pies.
Same. So many memories of having a little bit too much alcohol and a little too many pies.
Yes,
or a few too many pies.
Too much of both.
Yes.
But hopefully the drinks are pretty cheap. That's something they were known for relative to Detroit.
It was fine. Yeah. And I'm glad to see them up and about. I think they're being put together by the same people behind Wright and Company and all of that. So it's another one of
Optimist Society.
Yeah, it's another one of those joints. So what I liked about it is it's basically the same, except the floors aren't sticky anymore.
Not yet.
I'd like it to stay not sticky.
Get a few Saturday nights during football season. The floor is going to get sticky. Let me tell you right now.
Look, I don't. Unpopular opinion. I like dive bars, but I don't like sticky bars.
They're one and the same to me. It's hard to not have that. You're spilling a lot of drinks and things. After at nighttime, you've got all sorts of sugary drinks being thrown around. I'm sorry, Jerry.
Sticky bars, dailydetroit@gmail.com. What do you all think? I want to know.
They're inevitable.
They're inevitable. Okay, that part of life, right? Well, we're going to talk about a little bit of news and answer a listener question after we pay a bill. Today's show is brought to you in part by today's sponsor, your local Metro Detroit Best Choice Roofing. In my mind, there's one choice for roofing around here, and I'd go with your best choice. Whether it's time to replace your roof or repair it, Best Choice Roofing provides top-notch roofing services tailored to meet the unique needs of Detroit homes and businesses. They serve the region and inside the city of Detroit, too. And let me tell you, Devon O'Reilly, you are a former Detroit resident. I am a Detroit resident. Finding contractors in the city of Detroit can be a hard one, and they will serve the city of Detroit. Find out more at bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit. That's bestchoiceroofing.com/Detroit, or call 313-474-7031. That's 313-474-7031. All right, Devon O'Reilly, let's talk about some news.
Okay, let's talk about some news. What do we got this week?
Development.
Okay,
surprise,
like that.
surprise. We're
Right in my
talking
wheelhouse.
about
Perfect.
development. Now, do you remember all of the hurrah and tension around those older apartment buildings behind Little Caesars Arena, like at Cass and 75?
Yeah, I mean, they were caught up in a lot of the kind of the Illich Town, whatever we were going to make that area.
Illich
right?
Village, as I call it. I know they call it District Detroit. I keep wanting to call it Illich Village.
I think it got caught up in all that, and I think the general vibe now is people are pretty bearish on anything happening there.
Things are happening.
Are they now?
I believe they're happening. Well, remember my rule. I don't believe it until I see the money. And I've seen the money.
Okay.
So,
Well,
$80 million is going into the Henry on Cass in downtown Detroit. Olympia is partnering with Sinair and getting funded some money from Mishta to build 170 units across 7 buildings. This project will, and I quote from the release here, both preserve history and incorporate modern design, unquote, with 49% of the units at affordable rates ranging from 30 to 60% area median income. So that's pretty deeply affordable.
yeah, that is,
to be
that is
honest
truly
with you.
affordable.
The funding is mostly coming from a mix of government sources. The first of 7 of these 7 buildings aims to be done in the spring of 2026. Sinair has a long track record. Money from Mishta. Like, it goes down to that point of show me the money and I'll show you a project. And I want your thoughts, but it also proves to me a theory, and this is just a theory. I can't report on it because it's a theory, but I want your thoughts first.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear this. Now, we've talked about other developments related to Olympia before. What can we say other than usually those things don't end up coming to fruition? Recently, with the partnership with related companies, Stephen Ross, you have started to see things, and we've talked about the fact that when you have real money, real kind of global big development money, things can happen. The issue has always been that Olympia themselves weren't the best developers of properties, and so they didn't have a lot of free capital because it was all tied up in other operations. So when they were trying to go out alone, there was of course a lot of dragging of the feet, things not happening. But now that there's real money behind it, I am a little more optimistic. So like with the related companies being behind the U of M Innovation Center, some other properties, and now you're saying Sinair, which is definitely a big name, being behind it, I am a little more hopeful that this does get done. And if it does what it says with deeply affordable units, it'll be great for that area because there's not a ton of, right now, there's actually very little residential in that corridor.
Yeah, there's so much potential. I mean, there should be tens of thousands of people living in the land that the Illich's control, or Olympia Development controls, in my opinion.
Right.
And I really think it's time to start. I think there needs to be a real conversation at some point. Maybe it's after the election of let's make a deal. What is the deal to get this land moved from either Illich control or make something happen to make this work? Because I don't believe that the Olympia Development people have the cash to do these things.
Right. So
that means let's get it to people who do. That means that they're going to get paid out. But it has been too long that this key area of the city that I get annoyed that everybody talks about it, but I understand to the rest of the world, this is the gateway to Detroit because it's near the sports stadiums. One way or another, these things need to happen and move to people who can do these projects and look at a longer horizon than a few years. Because I think that the cash flow position of what's going on right now means that the projects have to pencil out in payback in 3, 5, 6 years. And really, we need a longer horizon with some of this stuff in Detroit still. The market's still nascent.
yeah, so hopefully they continue to do these partnerships. I think what you're alluding to is there's maybe something on the horizon even bigger where they just start selling off some of these perhaps. Right now they're kind of going the partnership route, but you're right. They don't have the cash to do the development that they've talked about. And if we recall back from our original plans, they're talking about like, this development, the building, this is supposed to go all the way to the casino. Remember, that was like one of the points was like all the way from LCA to Motor City Casino, which they also own.
It is a shame that Cass Park isn't one of the most beautiful neighborhood parks in Detroit. It is a shame. You've got the high school there. You've got the old Kresge headquarters. I personally think it'd be pretty cool as residential, but lots of people may disagree with me. But something needs to be done with that old Kresge headquarters. It's a little bit long in the tooth. You've got so many apartment buildings near there. Cass Park could be a shining gem of Detroit residential density, but we've got to get going. And it's just time. And I know people are like, well, look, they own the land, they should get paid. It's just how it's going to be. Whatever the deal needs to be. Like, interestingly enough, if you think about that Ross deal in U of M, yeah, they donated to U of M, but they also got a huge write-off because of it.
Oh, for sure.
So what is the deal that needs to get done? How many deals? And let's make this happen. I don't think Detroit can wait. You see the stuff happening in the old Chinatown. You see the money there. I don't think Detroit can wait anymore. It's time to move. We have been having this discussion literally since I was in high school. This is absurd. It's time to move. Needs to be a leadership priority. Get this stuff done and get people in housing and make people money.
We are in the show me times. We've said this before. We'll keep beating that drum. We are in the show me times. So you're right, Jared. We're done talking about what can be. We're talking about what should be happening now.
All right. Let's end with a listener question, my friend.
Okay.
From listener Kara with a C. When do you think Michigan, being a climate change haven, will start impacting development and business in Detroit and Metro Detroit? And this is specifically for us, Devon, because we're more of the businessy people. Do you feel like a businessy person?
Well, I do, because the amount of businessy people I interact with on a weekly basis is pretty high. So unfortunately or fortunately, I definitely feel like a businessy person.
What does your businessy person feel like on this topic?
Well, I think it's a great question. I really appreciate the question because there is something to this. It's not a silly question by any means. When you talk about environmental discussions, climate change discussions, there is no doubt that Michigan and the Great Lakes states are incredibly well positioned in the future for just good situation. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, you look at all these other states, other parts of the country, there's multiple natural disasters that could be happening at any given time, earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes, and we just don't have that, thankfully.
And statistics show that natural disasters are greatly increasing in the last 10, 15 years. Whatever you think about the causes or whatever, I look at somebody like a Candace Miller in Macomb County, a Republican, goes, I don't care what the causes are per se, but the reality is I'm dealing with more water. The facts are the facts. This is happening.
But if that's the worst thing in Michigan, that's not the worst. You know what I mean? People's, this is where, we're not having the issues that a Florida, California, even some of the prairies and plains that are having extreme dry spells and droughts, like Nevada, for instance. They're dealing with some real stuff. And Michigan is in such a good position. So the question is, we have all this fresh water. Obviously, that's going to become also extremely important. The fact that we have all this fresh water access. When does it actually start to show up in terms of making a difference in where people want to live? I'm not sure. I tend to think it's a little farther out, and I think it follows the money. So to the business case, Jer, is already you're seeing places like Florida having tremendous issues with homeowners insurance. It is incredibly difficult. There's all sorts of issues in Florida with getting homeowners insurance because, people's homes keep getting destroyed by all these natural disasters. Not only that, places like Miami are literally sinking into the ocean at a slow rate, but still, they are literally sinking into the ocean. And so those places are extremely hurt by insurance prices. Those are going to go up. You're going to see more states have rising insurance costs. And then maybe somewhere like Michigan, if we do this right, if we are able to kind of come in at a much lower rate of kind of insurance costs and its cost of living question, then I think we're in really good shape. But I don't think, we're talking 10 years maybe.
So for me, I look at it as a math question. I think your insurance thing is on the nose. I think politically, there's a lot of momentum to have the federal government backstop all of these insurance claims. That's what they've been doing. And that's why this has been going on for so long. These insurance companies are getting soaked, literally. And this is happening across the country where it's just too risky to live in these areas. But there's so much political power in these areas where it's there's basically been an unlimited check where it's been, I don't know the exact number. I remember hearing something in the 20 billion range that we have spent that the FEMA fund is underwater on, because there's been so much political power to say, oh, we're just going to keep backstopping it. At some point that has to stop. When that stops, you're going to see these costs go up. Now, there's a lot of other issues going on in the economy and what else, but I think it's part of the reason why it's crucial. You hear Governor Gretchen Whitmer build, baby, build. we've needed to build since the 70s, right? We still need, like, we have a shortage of housing as it is. That's one of the reasons what's driving up pricing. We need to build more. We need to be ready for it. And we need to say, if this is going to, we want to be a place where these people are going to choose to live because we have a lot of advantages. We need to play to those advantages. I'm with you. I'm in the 5 to 10 year range a little bit earlier. It's just, what is the appetite when you see that insurance collapse, which is inevitable in Florida, in California, in some other areas. Now, some people are going to go different places of the country. They're going to go to Texas. They're going to go whatever.
Well, but Texas has tremendous issues as well. Hurricanes, tornadoes, like their natural disasters are up against anybody's.
Oh, for sure. So I think it's all about follow the money. I wish like there was this like moral obligation where it's like, I'm going to do better for the, like all this other stuff. What I've learned in my 40 plus years on this earth is that what talks in America is practical finances. And when the finances don't work, people are going to start to move. Some of them are going to be stuck because of, high interest rates, lots of other things. But you're going to start to see some major shifts around investment. And I think that Metro Detroit and Michigan, not only are we a preferred place, but we need to do the work to be preferred and be ready for that. It's a huge opportunity for the repopulation of the city of Detroit as well.
Yeah, it is. So it's for Michigan, for all the Great Lakes states, really. I mean, we've got the most kind of shoreline in the Great Lakes, but certainly all the Great Lakes states will benefit from this, the Midwest. It's kind of a macabre catch-22, right? Because in this scenario, climate change is continuing to advance. Other states are getting much less hospitable, and all of a sudden Michigan is a nice, mild climate. It's kind of a scary proposition. That means some bad stuff is going on in other places, but good for us.
I am listening to a podcast, Not Built for This, by our friends over at 99% Invisible. You can go back. Roman Mars has actually been on this show. It was a while ago. I'll link to it in the show notes. But Not Built for This, and they talk about just so many of these things that are happening across the country and how we're just really not ready. And one of the things interesting about it is that you've got a lot of people in the South who are not sensing climate change, or even in areas like ours, because we go from air-conditioned box to air-conditioned box. So we don't sense the warmth happening around us. And let me tell you, someone who lives in a house without central air, I have sensed the increased warmth of Michigan summers as of late.
I bet you have. So yes, when people start to feel it, maybe that's when they'll start to take notice. And if you spend enough time outside, you probably would feel it. But I would end with this. If nothing else, the bipartisan takeaway is we have to protect our fresh water in Michigan, our lakes, our rivers. If that's going to become gold, is essentially what we're alluding to. Is if fresh water is going to become gold, then we have to protect that like it is.
And I think that it should be a deal where if you want it, you got to be here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. What do you think? We've talked about a lot on this episode. dailydetroit@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you. Thanks to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit, who keep local media alive. And thanks to our sponsor, Best Choice Roofing. Go check them out. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember that you are somebody, and we will talk after the holiday. Take care.